Hi, friend. Lacey Shane here. I got a request via email today asking, how can I be more memorable? So I thought I'd shoot this quick video and share with you some ways that I think you can be memorable in your interactions. And this is important. I believe being memorable has a lot to do with being influential. And I have a book coming out this summer on increasing your influence. In fact, how to leverage your female strengths to become more influential. And I think being memorable is really part of that. A lot of the things that I'm going to tell you today are things that I may have touched on in my book, or that are things that increase your influence and increase the ability of you to become someone that once you interact with someone, you're sort of seared in memory. They're not going to forget you. So I just wanted to cover some tips and tricks. There's all kinds of information all over the internet on how to become more memorable. So I'm just going to touch on several here, but certainly not all the ways that you can become memorable. And one of the things I think about, because I work with professional women, is the idea of mentoring. So many women ask, should I have a mentor? And what should I ask them? Sometimes you're applying for a job and you have the opportunity to ask questions in the interview. What should you ask them? And there's some general guidance here for you that I would give you. You never want to ask a mentor or someone in a job interview a question that you could have found the answer to without them, say on the internet or in the job announcement, something like that. You don't want to ask a question that you could readily find out somewhere else, because then you're not using their time wisely and it shows you didn't do your research. And that's not memorable. That's a dime a dozen. That's what everybody does. So ask great questions. Ask business questions, poignant questions that you can't necessarily find the answer to on the internet, and that are oftentimes, if you're talking to a mentor, ask a business question that is likely maybe only they know the answer to, or they would have a unique answer to. And that's one way for you to be memorable. I think of mentoring as, I don't really believe in one mentor, especially now with the way careers go. You don't stay one place for your entire career. So why would you have one mentor? I like to think of it in terms of mentoring moments. I have had many mentors throughout my career, some mentors showing me what I should not do. So there's a lot of people out there. A lot of times you can get mentoring walking down the hall or passing someone at an event and asking them a really great question. And when you ask them a really great question, you're memorable. And not only that, you get a great answer. When you ask a good question, you get something you can take to the bank in your career and utilize for your own growth and advancement. Okay, so ask good questions. The second thing is so simple, but almost nobody does it. And that's when you have an interaction with someone, especially professionally, or they've taken the time to maybe mentor you a bit, or you've taken the time to sit down with them and ask some questions. Maybe they've given you 15 minutes of their time. You've applied for a job. Whatever the case may be, send a handwritten thank you card immediately. Like as soon as the interaction's over, go to the store, or always keep, some thank you cards available. That's what I do. And always write handwritten thank you notes. Nobody does this. And especially when you're applying for a job, it's so incredibly important, because what it says to them is it says, I appreciate your company. I'm enthusiastic about working there. And I know how much time it takes and how much effort it takes to go through the hiring process. And I appreciate that you chose me to do that. You don't have to say all that. That's what a handwritten thank you card, telling them, thank you for the interview. Thank you for taking the time. I'm very enthusiastic about the position and I can't wait to hear from you. Just, be that person that sends that card, because nobody does it and it will make you memorable. So this one's particularly hard for me, although I've pushed myself to do it in situations where I need to, or it would benefit me. And that is when you're in a group of people. And, with COVID, we're just getting back to where we might do live events or parties or group meetings again. But be the first person to say hello. Be the first person. I don't know if we're going to shake hands again. Maybe if everybody's vaccinated, we are. But the elbow bump was getting really popular before complete lockdown happened. Whatever it is, be the first to say hello. And if a handshake's appropriate, do that. If an elbow bump's appropriate, whatever it is, maybe you just say, I would shake your hand, but I don't know that that's appropriate anymore in a post-COVID world. But be the first to say hello, even if it's difficult, and just ask, what do you do? Or why are you here today? Or what are you hoping to get out of this? Or, how long have you been in your career and what do you do? If you know that person, then think about a really good business question, okay, before you approach them. But be the first to say hello. And I also, kind of in that same vein, you can have a conversation when you're meeting someone like that. Or sometimes this could apply to a meeting with your boss. And this is the wisdom of using people's time wisely. You are very memorable if you think about clearly what you want to say and how to say it briefly. I heard this from someone, a coach that I know, that says, be brief, be brilliant, be gone. It is such a commodity to find someone that can convey themselves succinctly, especially to a boss or a supervisor or a higher management or leadership in your organization. Be the person to be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. Say what you have to say, make it important and make it brief, and you will stand out. You will be memorable because, again, that's so rare. I'm telling you things, I'm trying to focus on things that people rarely do because it's actually fairly easy to stand out. It's actually fairly easy to be memorable. You just have to do these things. Pay full attention to people. Look at me looking in the camera right now. If someone is looking at you like this while you're talking, you're memorable. You're listening deeply. Do you know how few people listen deeply now because of electronics, because of our phones? Keep your eye on, so don't be a creeper and not, lock eyes with them for 5 minutes, but listen to them. Listen to what they have to say. Listen deeply. Listening is something we need so much more of in the world today. And if you can do active listening and repeat words they use, oh yeah, that is interesting. Oh, I see, that is good. But just keep listening. Just keep listening. Listening deeply sets you apart, makes you memorable. Saying someone's name, really, really basic, but really makes you memorable. I forget who it is, but maybe it's Brian Tracy, or I think it's Dale Carnegie, who says, the sweetest sound to any person is their own name. So see how many times you can say someone's name as you're talking to them. And that will make you memorable because they'll know you remembered their name. This is particularly difficult for me. I have a hard time with names. So I really, really try to repeat their name several times when I meet them so I can repeat it when I'm saying goodbye or talking to them after listening. Listen for what they're saying and then ask a poignant question about what they've said, which also shows that you've listened deeply. How did you get through that? How did that work for you? Oh, that sounds like a lot of work. How did you get that done in such a short period of time? Listen for something they've told you and ask an intelligent question that will make you memorable. Be enthusiastic. Okay, this is something that I don't have a hard time doing, but some people do. I have a mentor that says, America is emotionally flatlining. The workplace is emotionally flatlining. I believe that's true. And that's why people with energy, when you have enthusiasm, you bring up the energy in the room. And people hesitate to do that because they're trying to blend in. But we're not trying to blend in, are we? We're talking about how to be memorable. And when you're memorable, you're not blending in. You're not doing what everybody else is doing. You're doing things differently. And having energy and enthusiasm, that's one way to do it. By the way, every job I've ever gotten, I was incredibly enthusiastic in the interview, even though my last job that I got, actually wasn't the last one, but the one before, had a 12-person panel interview where everybody was completely stoic, and I just kept the energy and enthusiasm going. I got the job. So enthusiasm, energy, bring it to a higher level than the people around you. Speak others' language. This is something that, when you're applying for a job or when you're having a conversation with someone, listen for the words they use. Okay, so I coach women on a lot of things, how to increase their influence, but one of them is how to get the job they want. And there's research involved in that. And one of the things that you research is language. The industries have a language. Businesses have a language. Cultures, business cultures, they all have a language. And you want to speak that so that they recognize you as one of their own. It creates an instant connection. So like I was saying earlier, if someone says, as you're listening, oh, that's weird. Sorry, there's a car going by. It's a hot rod. If someone says, something like, this is a really good thing, or this is a really weird thing, or this is a really exciting thing, repeat that. That is really exciting. That is really weird. That is really good. Use their language and you'll become more memorable because they'll connect with you. Be a serial emoter. This is something I talk a lot about in my new book coming out, which, by the way, is Advancing Through Influence, using your 5 and 8 female strengths to increase your influence, break through power barriers, and advance your career. It's coming out in July. So there's a link down below to get more information on it. If you'd like to buy a copy, a pre-sale copy, I'll sign it for you. So there's an opportunity down below. I talk about the serial emoter. Serial emoter is someone that's always recognizing the good in other people, always complimenting others. It has to be sincere. It can't be fake, okay? But it does, this is so beautiful for you, because another way that you can become memorable is always looking for that good in others. And what you'll like about it is if you become this way, it starts to elevate your own emotion, your own happiness, your own energy. So become that serial emoter that's always noticing the small and large good things in people. Okay. And it's a game changer. Do it with your colleagues, do it with your boss, do it with your customers, do it with your friends. It can be things large and small. So serial emoter. Always under promise and over deliver. So if you say, I'm going to get this to you next week, and you get it to them in 2 days, and then you add something like that's a bonus to it, that's always great. It's just a great habit to get into, that you over promise, you under promise and over deliver. And that way it's always a pleasant surprise. And then add that extra touch that makes you memorable. Pick a trait about yourself that's really you, that's really your personality, something that is quintessentially you, and accent that, either a behavior, a word, a characteristic, a way that you dress. I'll give you an example. My last job, my last 10 years of my career, I was in government and politics, and I needed to wear a suit most of the time. I love high heels. I love platform shoes, and I needed to wear a suit. So I thought, well, I need to fit into a certain extent so that I'm respected. I need to wear a suit. But the way I'm going to bring it with my personality is I'm going to wear those shoes. And because I was wearing a more conservative business suit, they didn't come off as kind of edgy as they could, but they were edgy enough. It was my personality. It was kind of my hallmark. And I loved it so much. That's the thing. You'll be happier too. So figure out what that quirk is of yours and work it, play it. Yes, fit in to make people comfortable, but also make that kind of your hallmark. And that helps you become memorable. Let's see. I want to, again, this is something I talk so much about in my book that's coming out, but giving is a female strength, but anybody can do it. I know tons of men that are excellent givers. And I don't mean giving a physical gift, although that can be something that you do. Giving people what they need. This is also a big part of listening. For instance, if someone is talking to you that you need to influence, and they are talking to you a lot about accolades they received, or awards they've gotten, or achievements that they've enjoyed in their career, what you're hearing is recognition means a lot to them. That's what they've just told you. So if recognition means a lot to that person, then it's your job to find a sincere way to give them recognition. Another idea of giving, let's say that you get 15 minutes of someone who's a couple steps above you, that you say, hey, can I have 15 minutes of your time to ask a few good business questions? And they give you 15 minutes. What if you find out what their favorite cup of Starbucks coffee is, have it delivered, and when you get on your little Zoom call or whatever it is, you say, hey, I hope you got your coffee. I found out what your favorite was, and I sent it over to you. I hope you got it. Is just one small way that I can say thank you for spending 15 minutes of your valuable time with me today. It was the least I could do. Those are a couple examples. We already talked about listening, complimenting. Be sincere when you compliment. Really find a sincere feeling in your heart about something positive about someone else. And you can find something positive in everybody. I'm just going to make that blanket statement. You can. When applying for a job, do your homework and your research, okay? So if you want to be memorable in a job interview, you want to do the listening tour of the right people in the industry or at the company, wherever you can, and find out what the language is, find out what problems the industry faces. And here is a gold question that you can ask in an interview. Let me back up. When you get all that information, when you get the language and you apply with your cover letter and your resume, by the way, what I will do down below is give you a link of Get That Interview. I have a freebie, a guide for writing cover letters and resumes that guides you through taking the research that you do and funneling it into your cover letter and resume so that it gets you that interview, so that you are memorable, so that you do stand out. So definitely look down below and click on that link and you'll be able to get that for free. But when you do your homework and you go into the interview, you want to use the language that they use. You want to ask good questions. And one great question to ask, I'm telling you, I've never heard this. Where I heard this question was in the book Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. And this is a question that anybody can ask in any interview. What problem exists in this company that I can solve through this position? I guarantee if you ask that question, you're going to stand out. Nobody else is going to ask it. So do yourself a favor and add that question when they give you, usually at the end of an interview, they give you an opportunity to ask questions. Ask that question. Ask that question. Always smile. Smiling is huge. I mean, it's that level of energy, right? And a lot of people don't feel like it's cool to smile, which is why you'll stand out if you smile a lot. I laugh a lot. People, I didn't know this, but I spontaneously laugh, and people tell me that they know my laugh. They can always hear it from blocks away. So that's how I stand out. My laugh stands out. People tend to like that about me. Let's see, active listening and validation. We kind of talked about that. I think I've gone through the list pretty exhaustively that I have here in front of me. There's tons of ways to be memorable. Feel free to shop around on the internet for more, but it's just not that hard. And it definitely gets you the interview. It definitely gets you the job. It definitely gets you the connections you need, helps you build your influence. To learn more about influence, make sure and look at the link down below to get more information on the book I have coming out, Advancing Through Influence, Using Your 5 and 8 Female Strengths to Break Through Power Barriers and Advance Your Career. And also look for the Get That Interview freebie guide that you can get by becoming part of my Female Friends community. I hope you go out there and have a great week, no matter where you are watching this in the world. Go out there and kill it this week.